Well, kids, welcome to another episode of Rimshots with Sean on the Rock Rage Radio Network. And part of doing this podcast is getting to meet new people, that I've never met before, and bands that I've never had the opportunity to meet before or hear before. And right with me now, I have Jay Costa coming from the New England area. Band is called Thy Will Be Done, which I love. Sir, thank you for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So tell me a little bit about Thy Will Be Done. Great name, different connotations if you don't know what you do. Give us a little lowdown on the band.
Sure, yeah. We origins of the band started in the mid 2000s out of the remnants of a previous band, but we kind of changed the name. We were Cobalt for a while, changed the name. We started doing a bunch. Ended up working with Jamie from Hatebreed. He put out our first two records. First one being in 2007, Was and Is to Come. Second album came out 2009, which was In Ancient of Days. We did a lot of heavy touring, a lot of bands, made some great friends, bands like Devil Driver, Immure, obviously Hatebreed, Crowbar, ton of bands. And then in 2012, we put out an EP called Temple, and that actually picked up some momentum on Sirius XM satellite radio and actually caught the attention of James Hetfield. And we were asked to play on the Orion Music and More Fest with Metallica in 2012, which was an absolute dream come true for any metal kid. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Um,
so we stayed busy for a while.
well, and again, and it's funny because anybody that knows my podcast, they'll roll their eyes and I go, okay, here he goes about networking again. But you guys are a product of networking because everything that you're talking about is we met these guys and maybe got on a bill, and met these guys and got on a bill. Oh, James Hetfield heard us, we got on a bill. So that's important, I think, in any genre of music. But I'm going to guess in the style that you guys play, that is probably even more important. Would you agree with me on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's such a tight-knit community and everybody really knows everybody. Especially when you start talking about some of the bands that have been around for a long time, some of the big players and the hardworking people like, the Jamie Josses of the world, Des Fafara, Rob Flynn, like all good humans that actually, took a shot on us and believed in us and talked about us or put us on tours or shows.
You mentioned Mr. Josta, and that's cool because he seems to work with so many different artists. He doesn't necessarily stick into one area. For anybody that I guess wouldn't necessarily know about him, what could you say about, I guess, what he brings to a project when he's working with the band?
In my experience, he has a very unique perspective on what he does, and he comes at it with a really strong work ethic in everything that he does. And again, he's just a fan of music. To your point, it's not one specific genre or style. I mean, he's got the D. Snyders of the world that he works with,
Right.
the Ripper Owens, and again, with Hatebreed, even with like Kingdom of Sorrow, he's just multifaceted and he's just a fan of music and it shows. So he's, again, not blowing smoke. He's a friend, but he's very talented and he's been very successful at, using his talents accordingly.
Well, and I mean, to say not blowing smoke, I mean, sometimes it's sad that you have to make statements like that because a friend's a friend, and it doesn't matter if they're successful or
Right.
they're doing whatever. To be able to say that though is cool because there's a respect factor. You've worked with him, but you also he's a hang and that type of thing. And I think sometimes in the music business, what happens is there's fan and then there's friend, and some people kind of blur the lines between that, and that's when it gets weird.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And and that's the thing too, is even early on and like, getting to know individuals and, touring with bands, everybody like before you get to the bro hang and everybody's like kind of getting to know each other, at least for us, as a band, we've always been respectful of people and never to encroach upon anything. And we're always an invite band, we're kind of like vampires, I suppose. You got to invite us into your home.
Well, you know, and it's funny because like when I was coming up, I mean, my roots are, I certainly, respected the Metallicas and the Panteras and the Slayers, but I was more of a Van Halen. I mean, Kiss is my favorite band. Now, a lot of the guys that are in the more metal stuff grew up on Kiss and whatnot too. But when I was coming up, there was always, man, if you weren't on this side of the fence, you're on this side of the fence, and if you met in the middle, there was going to be blows exchanged and stuff like that. That seems to be a lot different now. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. I remember growing up being a kid, you either loved Metallica or you loved Megadeth, and you couldn't like both. And I was so conflicted because I liked both.
Yeah. Well, and the other funny thing too, where I was growing up, it was like in the summertime, man. Like you're either wearing the rocker leather jacket in the summer or the shorts, and if you weren't wearing the rocker leather jacket, you weren't welcome. And it's so funny how things have changed, like mindsets and styles but the one thing I guess that hasn't changed that people need to know about the style of music that you guys are in is there's a very proficiency in the playing. Like there's not a lot of hackers on what you guys are doing. They typically don't get hurt.
Right on. Well, I appreciate that. We try to also not be hackers ourselves. There's a lot of, it's a long lineage of metal, and, we're just trying to also carry a torch. And it's not about us. It's sincerely, it's about the next generation of bands and musicians that come, because I think a lot has changed to your point with, take the advent of the internet, or maybe even what one would call the iPod generation of, you know, people listening to an amalgamation of different styles, and so now that's where I feel like we have so many different artists and different bands that blend these different styles, and it's totally not a faux pas like it once was, to your point,
Right.
much earlier. It's a lot more socially acceptable, which is fantastic, because at the end of the day, if it moves you and it makes you feel something, that's really what it's about.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Jay. And I mean, the thing is the industry is as a whole is so messed up in how things work that I think we don't need to be fighting. We need to kind of be pushing everything kind of up the hill, right? Because it's so hard to do anything in this business in any genre nowadays, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that's why, we've stayed an independent band the entire time. We've turned down recording contracts. For us, it's always been about the art. And to me, it always comes down to a choice, right? You can seek the fame, the fortune, and whatever, which is fine, that if that's your calling. But for us, this is a vocation. Like us, it's art, it's expression, and it's a way for us to be able to play music. And we've maintained our independence the entire time. We own our own music, our own publishing. We call the shots with what we do.
So here with Jay Costa on the Rock Rage Radio Network, and one of the things that I want to get at, we're few minutes into this conversation, and I hate the word comparables because it's to me it's a layman's term for being lazy and not going out and sort of hunting out and sourcing out what a band sounds like, or that type of thing. But for those people that haven't heard you guys before, if there was to be a comparables made, what would you guys, where would you fit into the whole world?
I'll tell you, one of the best compliments we ever got was from Rex Brown, who said, "You guys remind me of a young Pantera." And
Nice.
that blew me out of the water. I did not expect that. We never try to be anybody but ourselves. We love Black Sabbath, we love Slayer, we love Metallica, Sepultura. So we blend all these different styles, and for us, we're just alchemists working with metal and just putting out what we enjoy, and that's really all it is, man. It's like, you can hear a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but at the end of the day, the goal is always for someone to hear it and say, "That's thy will be done." And even as a vocalist, it was important for me to, I enunciate, I make sure that, like, when I'm singing, I want someone to be able to, differentiate. And for me, that's just how I approach it. And the biggest compliments that I get too are also on the vocals, that people know that it's me and that it doesn't just kind of sound like everything else that's happening, quote unquote. And
Right.
to me, that's a compliment. That feels really good, because you have to have a voice. There's only one of you in the entire world. When you have five unique individuals coming together, you want to make something that sounds like yourselves and put out something that no one else can put out.
I love that because I mean, the harder stuff that I grew up when I was growing up, I love the Halfords, I love the Dios, I love the
Yeah,
Dickinsons, all distinctive voices, right? It was like, you would never go, oh, I wonder who that is. You would instantly know who it was. They might be doing things differently. So that's a huge compliment. If somebody is saying to you, oh my God, you're very distinctive, because it's hard to be distinctive in this day and age. It's more commonplace to borrow or copy or imitate or those things.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and again, it makes it easier and easier with the advent of technology, and how, you know, 30 years ago, it was a completely different story when you were trying to record a demo versus nowadays, man. And like,
Yeah.
that in and of itself is huge, because now it awards everyone this opportunity. Not that everyone, is necessarily ready or they're professional enough, but they now have access to professional grade equipment to be able to record professionally and sound way better than it would have sounded 30 years ago.
No, you're right. And I mean, kids today will never have the opportunity to go into a studio, and if your song was 4 minutes long and you made a flub at the 4 minute and 2 second mark, you had to do the entire thing again, right? Versus now, where I did a session a couple of months ago, and I flubbed one tiny little thing, and all they did was they moved it on a line graph. I did, you know what I mean? So you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep,
Exactly.
absolutely.
And it probably you wouldn't even notice it. So kids, that's the one thing for me that is missing. And the other thing too, with the streaming, and I was talking to somebody about this the other day, where I remember a certain album having to hear the whole thing, and ended up liking the second side of the album, which didn't have any of the hits, better than the first side of the album. And I think that's something that's missing in music today.
I agree. It's easy to be fixated on trying to crank out the next hit and, popular song. I get it, especially nowadays where, monetarily people aren't buying music. It's really
Right.
down to streams and you're talking pennies on the dollar. So if you have a hit, maybe you're more likely to have a commercial pick it up or a movie or someone to just it gets stuck in the algorithm so more and more people discover you and find you. So I get it. It makes sense. You want to make something that's catchy. However, to your point, I remember also like having those second sides of the album, a second side of the cassette, and being like, "Whoa, there's some rippers over here," and
Yeah, man.
finding myself living on that side more so than the side with the hits.
Well, and I think of an album like Kiss Alive too, where I don't know if anybody would even know that the fourth side was actually studio and not live today if it came out. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
just really funny. So you mentioned the independent angle, which I love, because I think that not enough people are doing it. Everybody's still trying to swing for the fences and get that record deal, which is really a glorified bank loan if you think about it, right?
Right.
Um, how do you guys make those decisions, from everything from, how you choose your PR people to what you're pushing out and how you do it?
Great question. Yeah. So having been doing this now for 20 plus years with I Will Be Done, it's you get to know who it's a vast industry and um you get to know people and other people refer you to other people based on your character. And that's why character and your word is everything. So when you keep your circle as tight as you can with people who you trust and who can trust you because you back it up with what you say, then you tend to work with more honest individuals. There are unscrupulous individuals in every industry. There are people always looking to make money off of other people's hard work and labor. And that's always been prevalent in not just the recording industry, but also in Hollywood and every major industry where there's art and entertainment. There's always people that are looking to take advantage of people who have stars in their eyes. But it's interesting when you come at it from a perspective where you're grounded and you're routed in who you are and what it is you do. It gives you a certainty so that you're navigating waters and you can adjust your sails and find yourself with like-minded individuals. And so over these years, we've come to know certain people. So when it works, it works. And so you stick with what works. And again, when you're not trying to your point, swing for everything, or like,
Yeah.
shooting for and there's nothing wrong with that. Let me be clear too. I don't think it's wrong for anybody at all to aim for those things. I think it's wonderful. For us, it's again, it's about the art and it's about the expression. And I don't chase, I attract. That's the
Yeah.
way I go about life. And it's if you put out good enough music that you love and that you enjoy, that's all that matters. And for us, we make music that we would want to listen to. And if other people enjoy it, then that is sincerely, that is all bonus. That is gravy for us. We're a working class band. We all have full-time jobs doing the thing. We've always done that. Even when we were touring full time, we'd have to take time away from work or do a leave of absence and go on tour because it's what we believe in. But we've
Yeah.
always had to earn a living because it doesn't pay the bills and it hasn't. And even when we first started to where it is now, I mean, we were selling CDs in different record stores throughout North America, in Canada, the United States, Japan, and also in Europe. Nowadays, it's a handful of people who really still want compact discs. And I still love CDs. I think it's still the superior way to listen to music next to vinyl. But that's my preference. There's a whole
Right.
generation of folks that love what they love, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, you have to just take into consideration how people ingest their music and give it to them.
You said something there at the tail end, and I love the line about attract, don't chase, because too many people I think chase, and that's a great line. Um, but basically, what you said about people have their preferences. It's all right to like things and all that kind of things. Because one of the funniest things that I've seen, and I see it time and time again, somebody will post, "This is my favorite album," and somebody else will go in comments and so, "Oh, that's terrible," but it doesn't matter. That's my favorite album. And if you understand, I don't really care what you think. This is my favorite album. Um, so what you're saying there is important because I think people sometimes are afraid to like what they like and bury what they like to kind of conform to what other people think they should.
100%. And that's what it is. And I mean, there's been case studies done time and time again where, you can have people in a room that are planted that are meant to say the wrong thing, and then everyone after them adjusts how they perceive what the reality is based on, what somebody else saw and observed and what their choice was. And it's interesting. And so again, that has helped fan the flames again for what becomes trendy, popular, goes viral, things of that nature. And you're right. I think a lot of people, it's a little bit more challenging for folks to be able to just feel vulnerable being themselves and saying what they enjoy and who they are and what it is they do. And that's the only thing we have in this entire blip of existence is our voice, is who
Yeah.
we are. And we shouldn't be afraid of that. You're the only you in this space and time. Celebrate that, be you, be that voice and be that light that you are.
Um, yeah, because I mean, people's imaginations and attention spans are so low, and I always joke around about how you'll do an interview and you think it's amazing and it gets 1,500 views, and then some guy feeds raccoons on his back deck and it goes viral, and you know what I mean, though,
Yeah,
right?
man.
And you sit there and you go like, what do I got to do? But again, when you figure out views versus what things really mean, you're right. You kind of ease back and you go, okay, we're going to be fine here, and we just worry about ourselves. So I love that. Last question, sir. So where are my viewers going to find out about Thy Will Be Done? Where are they going to find out what you guys are up to? Where they get your music, all that wonderful stuff?
Sure, you can find Thy Will Be Done on all the streaming platforms from the Spotify's, the Apple Musics, the Deezers, the Titles, YouTube, you name it. And you can find us there. Thy Will Be Done. You can find us also on Facebook. We're on there pretty active. You can also find us on Instagram. It's underscore TWBD underscore because TWBD was already taken. I think it was like some water treatment plant. I don't even remember.
Yeah,
But yeah, Twibbid, TWBD on a lot of socials. That's on X as well. But yeah, Thy Will Be Done. Obviously, a lot of religious stuff pops up when you just type in "Thy Will Be Done."
yeah,
we
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're not a religious band for those asking. Hey, there's nothing wrong with it if that's your thing. It's cool, but to us, that's a personal journey. But Thy Will Be Done. You can check it out. Thy Will Be Done band, or type in Thy Will Be Done metal, and I'm sure we'll pop up.
Jay Costa, thank you for appearing on my little old podcast on the Rock Rage Radio Network, sir, and look forward to see what you guys are up to.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, check out the new record, Pillar of Fire. It's out now, so yeah, stream it everywhere.
Absolutely. Peace, brother.
Peace, brother. Thank you so much.
We're back after this.